If it feels like every essential got more expensive at the same time, you're right. Rent, food, insurance, utilities, childcare all jumped together. This wasn't random inflation. The system shifted. Prices didn't just rise, they reset. Here's what changed underneath and why they didn't come back down. One of the biggest changes was consolidation. Across essential industries, competition has been shrinking for years. Fewer companies now control larger shares of housing, food production, insurance, utilities, and childcare services. In a competitive market, companies lower prices to win customers. But once an industry becomes concentrated, that incentive disappears. When only a handful of firms dominate a market, cutting prices doesn't attract much new business. It just reduces revenue. Competitors don't follow the cut, and the company that tries to lower prices ends up weaker. So firms stop competing downward. They focus on stability instead. Prices don't fall back. They settle at a higher level and stay there. That outcome doesn't require collusion or intent. It's the natural result of market structure. Once consolidation passes a certain point, the system loses its built-in pressure to push prices down. Another change was how pricing itself started to work. Many essential goods and services are now priced using automated systems. These systems constantly track demand, competitor prices, and consumer behavior. They aren't designed to ask what prices should be. They're designed to test what prices will hold. When prices rise and customers keep paying, the system records that level as acceptable. Other firms see the same signal and adjust upward. But when costs fall, there's no automatic pressure to lower prices. The system waits, it tests, it moves slowly, if at all. This creates a one-way dynamic. Prices rise quickly when the market allows it, but fall slowly when conditions improve. Over time, that makes higher prices stick. Once that dynamic spreads across multiple essential markets, inflation stops behaving like a temporary event and starts behaving like a permanent shift. Another major change came after 2021 when companies adjusted their pricing during uncertainty. During supply disruptions, price increases were justified as protection. Households absorbed them because essentials aren't optional. When conditions stabilized, many of those prices didn't come back down. At that point, higher margins stopped being emergency measures. They became the baseline. Markets rewarded companies that held prices firm. They punished companies that tried to reverse them. Lower prices started to look like instability. Maintaining elevated prices looked like discipline. So the system reinforced what the crisis allowed. The supply disruptions themselves also played a role beyond their immediate impact. They created cover for repricing. Companies were able to raise prices quickly without losing customers because there was no alternative. Households adjusted under pressure. People cut discretionary spending. They used savings. They took on debt. Once life was reorganized around higher prices, the urgency to reverse those prices disappeared. The system learned how much pressure households could tolerate before behavior truly changed. Once it learned that, it locked in the result. At the same time, fixed household costs rose together. Rent, insurance premiums, utilities, childcare. These aren't expenses you can easily substitute, delay, or negotiate away. When several fixed costs rise at once, households lose flexibility. There's no margin left to adjust. Each increase stacks on top of the others. A higher rent makes higher insurance harder to absorb. Higher utilities make childcare costs more painful. At that point, people aren't choosing differently. They're absorbing damage. That's why this period felt different from past inflation. In previous cycles, there were pressure valves. Some costs eased while others rose. This time, the increases moved together, which leads to the question people keep asking. Why didn't prices come back down? Because the system no longer rewards lower prices. Competition weakened. Pricing became reactive instead of competitive. Margins reset upward. Households adapted under stress. Inflation slowing didn't reverse any of those incentives. So what people experienced wasn't a spike that would unwind. It was a reset that locked in. A higher price floor across essentials. That's what the post-2021 price reset really was. And it explains why so many people feel like they're falling behind even when economic indicators look fine. This isn't about bad budgeting. It isn't about lifestyle choices. It isn't about individual failure. The system changed. Once the cost of everyday life moved up together, it stopped coming back down together. Understanding that doesn't fix the problem, but it explains why the pressure never eased, and why so many people feel squeezed without knowing why. Thank you for watching. For more videos explaining how these economic systems actually work, subscribe.